It's going to be very, very, and I'm sure you're all going to like it, right? It's a fantastic estate. It's a project that we're very excited about. We've been planning towards it, and I'm very happy to be presenting it to you today. Okay, so just hold on tight. In the next 20 minutes or thereabout, I'll be done with my presentation, and we would then open the floor for questions. Okay, so let's just go straight ahead. All right, so let me share my slides very quickly. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Okay. All right. I believe you can all see my slide, right? John, if you're hearing me, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can see your screen.
Okay, great, fantastic. So I'll just go straight ahead into the presentation. Okay, and I'll ask that everybody follows me very closely and very carefully so that we can get the best of this presentation. So the topic is unlocking success in real estate, strategies for attracting high-paying clients and closing deals faster. Now, the very first thing we need to look at is networking. Now, this is a very interesting topic because I see a lot of realtors going out there and they don't necessarily network. A lot of realtors think selling is all about looking for customers all the time through social media and all of that. Now, I'm not saying social media is bad. I'm not saying doing sponsored adverts is bad. I'm not saying doing posts on billboards, newspapers, print media, TV, very good, right? But one of the best ways, if you want to break into that upper echelon of the society, if you want to break into the high net worth individuals, right? You want to ensure that you network as much as possible. How do you network, or what's the benefit of networking? Building relationships. For me personally, if you're on the group, on the WhatsApp group, you'll notice that I posted a message saying I've closed deals worth billions of naira, right? The major reason that I've closed those deals is I understand the importance of networking. I'll give you an example. Those of us who are in my team in PWAN Stars, we know fully well that we have a client who recently bought 8 units in one of our projects, 8 units. And this person bought into this project because of the power of networking. This person is someone who has been a friend for some time. He came in as a client, and I purposely decided to create a personal relationship with him. He's someone that I talk to at any time. In fact, we still had a conversation yesterday. We share jokes. I interact. He's a very good person. He's a very good friend of mine, and he has told me that he's my #1 person when it comes to real estate. How did I get there? It's through the power of networking, through the power of relationship building. So it goes beyond just having contacts on your phone, right? You should ensure that beyond just having contacts on your phone, you build networks, you build relationships, strategic relationships. Now, I would tell you, if you go through my phone, right, you see a lot of contacts on my phone. But amongst those contacts on my phone, there are certain people I don't joke with. There are certain people I am extremely deliberate about my interactions with them. So I don't joke with those people. When they send me messages on WhatsApp, I respond immediately. And not just do I respond immediately, there's a certain way I interact with them that is different from the way I interact with other people. So I am very deliberate about the kinds of contacts that I keep and the kinds of relationships that I build. So if you want to break into that upper end of the market, you want to be closing deals worth hundreds of millions, billions of naira, you've got to be very deliberate about building relationships. And then secondly, attend high-end events and conferences. How many of us attend events? Some of us who even attend events, when we go to the events, we don't even share our complimentary cards. We don't get to meet people. Some of us share our complimentary cards, but how many of us go a step further by calling the people that we have shared those complimentary cards to or with? How many people do that? As a realtor, you've got to be sharing your cards, about attending events, about following up. I attended an event a couple of months in February, and seated on my table were CEOs of top blue chip companies, CEOs, COOs, chief C-suite executives of blue chip companies. And what did I do? During the course of the event, I shared my cards and I got their own numbers as well. And after the event, I did a lot of course, after an event, you speak, you talk, you have your little chit chats here and there. And I made sure I followed up with calls immediately after the event. Now, as I speak to you today, some of the major players in the real estate industry are people that I can consider maybe not necessarily my friends, because I can't say I know them that well, but I've already started something. And I intend to nurture that relationship over time so that they then become friends. They then become not just acquaintances, but people I can interact with, people that I can develop a business relationship with. So you've got to attend events and conferences if you want to break into a certain class of people. Once you attend those conferences, share your cards with them, dress properly first and foremost. That's very important. Share your cards with them, get their numbers, get their email addresses, follow up with a call. Don't speak about business on the first conversation. That's very amateurish. Don't speak about business immediately. Just get to know about them. Let them also get to know you as well, because there has to be a symbiotic relationship. And then after a while, you then start to market to them. That's how it works, okay? Join exclusive clubs and organizations. There are so many clubs out there, that you can join. Some of them are free, some of them are paid. Whether they are free or they are paid, just look for an organization, look for a club and join them. Not only should you join them, become an active member in those clubs, because you don't want to join a club and become a liability. You want to also add value to that club. So whether you're an exco or whether you're just a floor member, whatever it is, make sure you join and ensure that you are relevant. It's very important that you do that. Now, like I said, some are free, right? The ones that are free, you can join. The ones that are paid, if you can afford the paid clubs, I would advise that you actually look for clubs that are paid. Why? Because you're likely to find people in the caliber or in the class of the kinds of people that you're trying to market to. Your target market, you're likely to find them in the paid clubs. But of course, not everybody can afford them. So it all depends on your budgets. You can start with the free clubs initially and then upgrade. Once you start making money, can then upgrade to the paid club. So good examples of some of these paid clubs are like Ikoyi Club, for instance. Now, I know Ikoyi Club is not within the reach of everybody. Not everybody can afford to join Ikoyi Club, but if you can afford it, please join. If you can't afford it, look for one that you can afford, join, be active, and ensure you add value. And of course, like I said earlier, you cannot downplay the importance of social media. Social media is obviously very important, but you also need to learn how to use social media to break into that particular category. So using social media is a subject on its own, separate subject on its own. You don't just go to social media and be posting all the time. No, there's a strategic way that you post or you engage or interact on social media if you are deliberate about breaking into the upper class. Now, this is extremely important. You've got to learn to speak the language of the rich. Now, some people might be asking, what is that language? Are we talking English or French or Spanish? No. When I talk about speaking the language of the rich, it's not so much about the language, the literal meaning of the word language. It's really more about the do's and the don'ts, the cultures, the attitudes, the norms, the values, the ways they do their things. That is what I'm talking about, okay? So understanding the mindset of high-end clients is very important. There are certain language that the rich people resonate with. There are certain values, there are certain innuendos, if you like. There are certain behavioral patterns that are expected of rich people, of high net worth individuals. There are certain ways they behave, even from the dressing. So if you are invited to a meeting with high-end people, there's a certain way you must dress. First and foremost, ask for a dress for the dress code. If so, you don't overdress, and also so you don't underdress as well. So you must always ask if you are invited for a meeting, a conference, or a gathering, whatever it is, and you know you're going to be meeting, even if it's just a hangout, ask whoever it is that is hosting, how would you like people to dress for this hangout? And ensure that you are dressed appropriately. When you do that, you get there, the way you talk, you try and monitor the way they behave and behave like them. That's what I'm saying. Because the truth of the matter is that rich people, they size people up. In fact, not just rich people, I think everybody does it. Everybody sizes people up. Even you and I, we actually size people up. We don't want to be associated with people that we believe are not in our class or are not in our category. So the same thing with these people as well. So if they see you and they see the way you behave, they see that you behave in a way that doesn't necessarily align with their value system or with the things that they are used to, right? You have to ensure that you adjust. If not, they will just find a way to stylishly push you aside. That's the way it works. That's the way the world works. Like, obviously, would want to associate with like. People of like minds want to associate with each other. So if they see you as someone who is behaving like you feel lucky, quote and unquote, to be in their category or in their class or in their meeting or in their gathering, they are likely to push you away. So you've got to ensure that you speak and behave in the way that they speak and they behave. For instance, I'll give you a very hilarious example. Now imagine you are invited to a meeting at, say, Nikon Town Hotel in Abuja, and you get there and you are supposed to be meeting with some of the top executives in some blue chip organizations, and they're all there seated and everything. And you're there, you get there, you're seated with them, and the way you sit, you are not sitting comfortably, you're putting your head down, you're looking down to the ground, and then you raise your head up and you're just sort of overwhelmed by the atmosphere, the lights and the design and just the ambience of the room. And that's all you're doing. You're just literally admiring because you've probably never been to a space like that before. Meanwhile, the people you're meeting with are people who regularly meet there. So they understand, they are used to it, but you are not used to it. So you're so distracted. You're not even paying attention to the discussion or to the conversations that are going on. Trust me, someone somewhere is going to observe your behavior and they're going to find a way to just push you aside. It's just the way. It's not that like they're bad people. It's just the way the world works. So you've got to be very careful about the way you resonate, the way you speak, the way you talk, the way you dress when you are trying to break into certain circles. And always show appreciation. Do not envy them. Rich people, HNIs, they can sense envy from a far distance. So you've got to show that you are happy for them. You are happy for them and you are happy for their success. Now, you've also got to tailor your solutions. This is the marketing part now. Tailor your solutions to meet their specific needs. Extremely critical. Now, I'll tell you one thing. Rich people are not budget focused. In fact, some of them believe that the cheaper the product, the worse off or the worse it is. That's what they believe. So some of them would even prefer that you even give them something that maybe not necessarily too expensive, but it's not cheap because they are not budget focused. Remember, you're not dealing with the lower class. You're not even dealing with the middle class. You're dealing with the HNIs. You're dealing with the upper class, or at the very least, the upper end of the middle class. So you're dealing with people who are informed. Now, people who belong to that category, they want bespoke solutions. By bespoke, I mean specific. They want specific solutions. So you're not just selling them just general products. If you're selling them property, you've got to tell them what the property does. What does it have? Does it have high-end technology? Does it have Internet of Things? Does it have a swimming pool? Does it have a private jacuzzi somewhere? Does it have a children's play, whatever it is that the facility has or whatever it is that it can do, you've got to let them know. And then also tell them that you are willing to provide certain specific amenities for them, certain specific solutions, certain specific infrastructure, for instance. There are certain things that they are looking for, and they are very sensitive about this thing. So you've got to ensure that you meet them at the point of their needs. I've spoken about building relationships, but when I spoke about it earlier, I was talking more about networking and how we can use networking to build relationships. Now, this slide is talking generally about building relationships beyond just networking. It's really more about being deliberate about the contact or about the company you keep, about the friends you associate yourself with. In your everyday interaction, identify people that are either your potential clients or can connect you to your potential clients. And trust me, everybody who is listening to this presentation today is 1 or 2 or 3 contacts away from an HNI contact. Trust me, you are either 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 at the most, 6 contacts away from a potential HNI who can buy your products. The problem is a lot of people are not deliberate about identifying that link. There's always a link. There's always a link. And we are always thinking that the link has to be a direct link. No, it doesn't have to be a direct link. I've had clients in the past where I didn't know the client, but I knew someone who knew someone who knew someone who knew the client. So sometimes it's not so much about I need to know this person directly. Who are the people within your immediate circles that know people who know people who know people who can eventually buy products that you're selling that are worth hundreds of millions, if not even billions of naira? You've got to be willing to do that. You've got to be willing to have a collaborative spirit. Collaborate. You cannot do everything alone. Trust me, nobody is an island. Nobody became a billionaire by themselves alone. I know there are people out there that call themselves self-made billionaires. But if you notice, check all the billionaires of the world, the richest people in the world, they have someone who helped them along the way. Either a partner, a mentor, whoever that person was, there was someone who handheld them. There was someone who showed them the way. There was someone who made things easier for them. In Nigeria, a lot of the billionaires that we have in Nigeria are people who directly or indirectly had relationships with the government. Let's be honest. A lot of them had relationships with the government. Maybe they got oil blocks at some point, or they got some very big contracts, maybe building contracts, construction contracts, whatever it is. They had those strategic relationships with government people or government agencies directly or indirectly, and that's how they were able to build their wealth. You can do the same thing yourself. The only thing that's required is for you to sit down and identify who are those people, who are those organizations that you need to collaborate with, that you need to form strategic relationships with, so that you can also grow your business as well. Like I've said, mind your company. Develop a strong brand identity. You know, when I was speaking about social media earlier, I said, social media, if you're trying to be strategic on social media, it goes beyond just posting. I see a lot of realtors out there, I go to their pages and I can tell that they are doing the wrong thing. All you're just doing is you're just posting flyers or you're just posting some poor quality videos. You're not going to break into the HNI category by doing that. You've got to build your brand first. Create a brand that makes you look like an expert on the field, because trust me, high net worth people, they want to deal with experts. They don't want to deal with just anybody. They don't want to be sold. That's one thing that you can take to the bank. An average rich person, they don't want to be sold. They want to buy, they want to invest, they want to grow their portfolio, but they don't want to be sold. So you've got to build a brand identity that is so strong that these guys are the ones that will start chasing you. Because trust me, there are people out there, they have the cash, they don't know where to put their money. They are looking for trusted experts out there that they can put their money in and they can go to sleep, or that they can invest their money on and they can go to sleep. Some of them are visiting social media on a daily basis. They are visiting social media, they're looking for people. An average rich person, they go on social media and they see someone, a realtor that's just doing promotional content all the time. The chances that they're going to patronize that person is very slim, right? It's very, very slim. So you don't want to do promotional content all the time. When you're doing your social media posting, try and split it according to value. Ensure that you do more of value creation rather than promotion. So if you are posting 5 times a week, for instance, you could do three of those 5 times could be educational content. The 4th one can be motivational or inspiring content, while the 5th one can be promotional. In fact, I would even dare say that you could even do it in such a way that all 5 posts, none of them is promotional. If you want to do anything promotional, you do a sponsored ad. But for your regular content creation on Instagram, on TikTok, try and make it a combination of educational, inspirational, motivational, and maybe entertaining, because people want to be entertained as well. Now, use high quality marketing materials. If you want to break into the high end of the market, you cannot do that with a poor quality phone. If you can't afford a good phone, borrow a phone from, just get something, get a good quality gadget and ensure that your materials are of a very high standard. Because if you send materials or if you post materials on your page, they're not of good quality, people might be watching, but they are not going to contact you. Because in their minds, they're already thinking this guy or this lady, he or she, they're not up to the level that I'm looking for. They've already sized you up. Now, people size people up not just by knowing them or by interacting with them, but even by you watching or by listening to watching the quality of the content they put online. And I do that as well myself. If I go to a company's website and I see the website and I see the quality of content on the website, I'm rating that website automatically, and I'm rating the company behind the website automatically. So I need to be sure, before I can patronize a company, I need to be sure that the quality of their content, because the quality of their content in a very large way speaks to the quality of the person or the people behind that content. And ensure consistency across all touch points on social media, offline. If you're doing billboards, if you're doing newspaper, everything should align. So it's not like you're doing high quality on social media and then the quality drops when you're doing your newspaper ads, and then the quality increases when you're doing TV. You go to radio, it's a different level of quality. No, ensure that if you're going to put out quality content, you have to be consistent. Now, after all is said and done, you have to offer value. That should be at the core of everything you do when you're speaking to a high net worth person. You have to offer value. Again, let me track back to that person I said has done lots of business with us in my company in the last 4 to 5 months. The reason he has done so much business is because we offered value. Okay, whenever this person has any question to ask on real estate, he comes to me and I always explain to him. I explain with confidence. I speak to him like someone who understands what I'm saying. For those of you who don't know, I'm actually an author. I wrote a book in 2020 about investments. One of the reasons I wrote that book, contrary to popular opinion, people think I just wrote the book because I want to make an extra income. No, it wasn't really so much to do about the money. It was really because I was trying to brand myself as a subject matter expert. And that has really helped me over time. Now, because people will feel, oh, if this guy can write a book about investments, obviously he knows 1 or 2 things about investments. So you don't have to write a book, but whatever it is that you're doing, put out content that makes you look the part. Put out content that makes you look like an expert. So this customer of ours who's done so much business with us the last 5 to 6 months, he sees me as someone almost like an oracle, quote and unquote. He sees me as someone who understands real estate inside out, and that's why he's attracted. I don't even go to him anymore. He's the one who comes to me to say, what do you have next? I want to invest. That's one. The other thing that we did was that we delivered a project, and that project we've gotten so many testimonials from that project, from just that one project that we have delivered. People are living there now. People just love it. It cost us a lot more than it would have cost if we hadn't done it as well, but we knew that the cost that we were expending on that project was an investment, and it's an investment that is paying off. So when we do our inspections, we take people to that site. When they see the quality of our work there, they are just drawn to us, and they want to invest in our future projects. So whatever it is that you're doing, you must ensure, especially at the start, and especially if you're trying to deal with HNIs, you must ensure that you offer as much value as possible. I spoke about offering personalized, bespoke service, and always pay attention to, see, look, rich people, I'll tell you one thing about rich people. They like details. Always cross your T's and dot your I's. Always cross your T's and dot your I's when you're dealing with them. Don't say, well, after all, nobody will notice. They will notice because they are very meticulous. That's why they are rich anyway. That's why they've gotten to the level they've gotten to. Trust me. If you're talking to any of the top people around in the industry, there's one thing that I know you would always observe. They pay attention to detail. The way you dress, the way you speak, the way you talk, the way you walk, the way you carry yourself, your confidence levels, all of those things, they are doing so many calculations in their heads before they even decide. Sometimes it may not even be because of the product that they are even buying or deciding not to buy from you. Sometimes it could be softer, quote and unquote, softer issues, like some of those details that I spoke about. So pay attention to details. They're going to meet an HNI. For instance, you've called the person over, you've spoken over the phone, and you've agreed for a meeting somewhere. You've got to ensure that you create a checklist. Dress, speak, talk, walk, create that checklist and tick everything off as you go along, and ensure that you do not leave any stones unturned. And finally, ensure that you deliver exceptional returns, exceptional results. Don't try to meet their expectations. If you are trying to meet the expectations of an HNI, you are missing out. You are missing out. You shouldn't meet you should exceed their expectations. So what I try to do is I try to under-promise and over-deliver. I try to under-promise and over-deliver. If I'm going to do a smart home, for instance, I probably wouldn't put it in my marketing materials that I'm going to do a smart home. I'd rather make it seem like I'm going to do a basic home and then deliver the smart home to the surprise of my clients. I like my clients to be pleasantly surprised. Or sometimes, if I'm going to deliver something in 3 months, I could tell them it will take them 5 months, and I deliver in 3 months. So it's always good to ensure that you under-promise and over-deliver so that your clients feel, look, this person is exceptionally good. That way, not only will they do more business, or not only are they likely to do more business with you, they're also likely to refer you to their contacts. And trust me, repeat business and referral business is one of the biggest ways to break into that circle. Why? Because their friends and their contacts rely and they trust their judgment. So the moment you're able to impress one HNI, there's a very high chance that you are likely to break into the circles of that HNI, because once they are impressed by your results, okay, they are likely to ensure that they inform their friends. In fact, they might not even be doing it deliberately. They could just be talking while hanging out with their friends, and your name could just come up. Imagine you sold something to someone and you delivered exceptional value to that person. That person is going to talk about you subconsciously, most times, more often than not, they're going to talk about you without even knowing. They could just be hanging out and then your name just pops up and like, oh, that person, James or John or Blessing or whatever your name is, that person sold so and so, and within the same day, I got my documents, and then the property was so good, it was delivered exceptionally well, and then before you know it, they're like, oh, who is this realtor's name? Please give me that person's contact. I want to call them, and that's how you expand your business. So you must ensure that at all times, you deliver value, deliver exceptional results, and ensure that you exceed their expectations. Very, very important. Now, let's talk about our new products. Let's talk about our new product. It's called the Cityscape Apartments. That's the name of the estate. It's called the Cityscape Apartments. Just look at the front view. This is the approach view of the estate. Isn't this beautiful? Now, guys, guess what? I can assure you that the moment we are done with this property, it will be at least as good as this, if not even better. And the reason I say this is because we've done it before. When we did the edifice apartments in Shangote, that's the one that we have completed. The 3Ds were not even as good, in my own opinion, and in the opinion of many people. The 3Ds were not as good as the actual. The actual was actually better. So if you are seeing this in 3D, trust me, this is exactly how it's going to be when it's done, if not even better. Okay, so that's the cityscape apartments. That's another view of the building. So there are two buildings consisting a total of 18 units. So 9 units on each side. So that's one side. That's the other side. Okay, so the one I showed earlier, this one is the left-hand side when you're pushing the estate, while this one is the right-hand side. Okay, so what are the details? It's got a certificate of occupancy. As you know, as a company, we do not deal in anything that doesn't have the C of O as title. That is one standard we've maintained almost since we were established. It's located off Monastery Road, and the beauty about it is that there's a paved road that leads to the site. Paved road, there's a paved road on Monastery, and then you turn off Monastery to the left, there's a paved road that leads you all the way to the site. So we have infrastructure in place already. And what are the amenities? What are the things that we have within the neighborhood? We have the likes of ShopRite, Nuvary Mall, as most of you will know. We have the likes of LBS. You have Giwa Gardens. Giwa Gardens is located within maybe 5 minutes of less than 5 minutes drive. It's just off. Giwa Gardens is also located off ShopRite, off Monastery rather. And then we have the Lufasi Nature Park and so many other monuments within the neighborhood as well. So yeah, that's it. The Lufasi Nature Park, Nuvary Mall, Crown Estates, Farah Park Estates, and LBS. Okay, so what are the amenities? We have a swimming pool, right? That's, if you look at the picture by your left, you'd see just by the bottom right corner, you'd see the swimming pool there. We're going to have clean pipe-on water. We're going to have overhead tanks on the roofs, and then we'll have some tanks on the ground as well. And we would have water treatment plants as well to ensure that the water is clean. We would have a gym, a fitness center, a very big fitness center is going to be located there. Ample parking. Each unit will have at least 2 parking slots, and we'll also have an overflow on the outside. So there's excess parking outside the gate to take about 10 cars for guests and visitors. We have a children's playground. Obviously, we have security as well. So we have just 2 beds and 3 beds. We don't have any 1 beds here. Just strictly 2 beds and 1 bed. These are the prices. These are introductory prices, by the way. Introductory prices. 2-bedroom goes for 49 million for semi-finished and 63 million for 57 million for fully finished. While the 3-bedroom goes for 63 million semi-finished and 72 million fully finished. Minimum deposit is 30%. The image by the right shows the gym. So that's how the gym is going to look like when it's done. Now, let me introduce to you what we call the Smart Pay scheme. That's our innovative mortgage plan. So why did we introduce the mortgage plan? Because we realized that not everybody can afford 49 or 63 million or 72 million. Not everybody has that money. But we also realized that it was a growing middle class segment. It was a growing middle class segment that they couldn't afford 50, 60, 70 million, but they earn decent incomes. They earn fairly good salaries on a monthly basis. So I'm talking about people that work in blue chip organizations, people that work in banks, they work in oil companies. You have software engineers that work in fintech organizations and all of that. These are people who earn 1 million, 1.5 million, 2 million. They earn good salaries. Some even earn as much as 3, 4 million or even more every month. So we felt, look, these guys don't have 40 million. They don't have 50, but they have a salary that is very good. Okay, so why not create a product that meets or that caters to their income levels or the way they earn their money? And that's why we thought about the mortgage schemes. But we also realized that conventional mortgages are very expensive, very, very expensive. So what we are doing now is we then decided to search for government-funded mortgages that are very cheap or relatively cheap, that these people can buy into and pay over a long term so that they are paying a very small amount every month. They don't even feel it. They don't feel it, right? And they are able to secure their homes. As soon as the mortgage is approved, we get funded and these people can then secure their home. So it's very easy. Trust me, a lot of people are showing very good interest in it. We've actually processed, this is not something we're just trying. We've actually processed mortgages in the past. And we have a number of subscribers or potential subscribers who are currently processing their mortgages for them. So what are the details? Interest rate is just 12%. Conventional mortgage interest rate is between 30 and 35%. Because MPR at the moment, I think, is about 27% or thereabouts, right? But this one is just 12%,